Hey, friends, welcome back to the Balance Boss Mom podcast, where we honestly have the best conversations about motherhood, mental health, identity, and empowerment. I'm your host, Erika, and today I am beyond thrilled to welcome Brittany. She is a speaker, a storyteller, and most importantly, the most brilliant voice to have ever a TED Talk that completely stops me in my tracks. Brittany has a wonderful gift turning her life experiences into including up and downs about motherhood, learning the lessons and laughter, and showing us about our stories and how to navigate through the midst of transitions. Such as myself, we always go through different transitions and can truly be our greatest superpower. So I want to take the time to welcome you, Brittany, letting you know that this is going to be an easy conversation, just a conversation where we're having coffee over the phone or, via chat, as we would say. But I love how you share your truth in reference to your TED Talks and healing and connection. So I just want to welcome you into the podcast.
Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I think anytime I get to have a conversation where all my hats kind of come into one, right? There's health and wellness, there's being a mom, there's being a business owner. And what in the world does that look like to bring it all together and do it in a way that you don't end up the one who's getting the last of it all? I think we were just chatting a second ago, like there is a sense of like, who am I in the midst of all of these titles and roles? And so, yeah, it's not an easy feat, but it's definitely doable. So I'm excited to have the combo.
I'm excited. I'm jumping. I told you I'm going to jump on my word.
It's okay.
Excited for you to be here. Now, I know the title, it was kind of a powerful title when it came to mind for me about your story is your superpower. And I want to get into a little bit about your story and what is your superpower. And I would love for the listeners to hear straight from you about a little bit about your background.
Yeah, thank you. So I actually grew up in a really small town in Michigan. We had like two street lights, graduated with like 90 people. So anything that I've done up until today has been in it's been a journey, like coming from such a small town, and then went to college, met my husband. We really didn't know if we were going to be together, and so there was this like on off thing sort of happening. My life was taking one route and his was taking a very different route. And then I ended up getting pregnant with our oldest daughter. And so at that point, it became a lot of really hard nights, hard conversations, trying to decide like, what is life going to look like next?
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately we did get married when she was about 11 months old. And so, I mean, it is kind of crazy. Like there was a lot of unknown. And then all of a sudden, from the time he proposed to the time I walked down the aisle was only like 9 weeks. So when
Oh,
we knew it was a quick engagement. And then we went into ministry shortly after that. And so we were working in like a nonprofit space and working in the ministry field.
mm-hmm.
And that comes with its own challenges. So we already sort of started on this like a little bit of a rocky foundation, plus with a daughter, and then having to like lead groups of people who were decades older than us. So that was like a master class in leadership and trying to grow an organization like right out of the gate. So that I feel like we aged a lot in a very short amount of time going through that season. And then, I mean, that went on for some years. We moved down to Atlanta and then COVID happened. And it felt like everybody's world sort of flipped upside down. But I started to realize in COVID, like, he actually ended up leaving his position at the church and going into full-time entrepreneurship. I wasn't ready yet to do that, but I could see like, wow, there's so much available on the other side of taking that leap of faith. Like we could build what we wanted to build. We could do what we saw in our hearts to do, and I think when you go out on your own, it's really scary, but it's equally as exhilarating. And so I don't know if it was made the most sense to anybody around us, but in the midst of everything happening in the world, that's kind of when we launched he launched into speaking more full time. And then that's when we launched our coaching company. And so by 2021, I was able to join him full time, and we've been running our company together since then. But at the end of that 2021 season is really when I would say any like courage that we had built up through COVID and like, okay, we're really going to do this and give it our all. I think because money was tight, our company wasn't where we needed it to be to make things make sense. And then our marriage was really taking a toll at the same time. I felt like I had no emotional availability for my daughters. By that time, we had 3 daughters.
Mhm.
And so it really was a rock bottom season for me. I was having heart palpitations. I was at my most unhealthy place, like emotionally, physically, mentally. Um, and so in my TEDx talk, that's really the season that you hear me talk about is, hey, when things got the worst, that's when
Mhm.
I had to kind of get really serious. Like, what, like this can't be the life that we envisioned, right? Like there's no way this is the abundant life that I know that we've seen in our, vision boards and dreams. So in my talk, I talk about like, okay, well, somehow I got here. And so there was a self-help book that I picked up. There was some like physical practices and some mental health practices and my faith. So between those 4 things, that really became the turning point for me as an individual to try to build back up to being healthy and well. And then our marriage, our family, and our company followed suit, not all in one day, definitely not in one day. But I know that as you begin to do the work and focus on you and take those baby steps and build on those wins, everything else will follow along because you are at the center of everything that you do. And so it just all kind of like grew out of there. And so now that was 4 years ago. And now we're here and we have a company that we just are absolutely in love with. It's still super hard work, but we
Mhm.
love what we get to do. And we get to help some really, really awesome people as our clients. So,
I like that.
yeah,
I like learning. Like I stated, each guest that has came onto my podcast has taught me so many different things and a lot of takeaways from each episode that I have done. And so today I want to have so many takeaways. I am so you have no idea how excited I am. Like my little heart, like a little girl heart, is like just jumping.
I love it.
So another thing I want to talk about, we can rewind the clock a little bit because I want to throw some questions before you had kids.
Sure.
So we get to know the pre-mom, Brittany.
Yeah.
And you can answer them as quickly as you want, as slow as you like. It's a story, and I'm enjoying it. So let's get into it about these questions. Before you became a mom, what did life look like for you, and how would you describe it when you're trying to identify yourself?
Yeah, that is a good question. So I went to Central Michigan University and my undergrad degree is in exercise science. So I actually thought I was on a path to become a physician's assistant. And
Oh,
yeah, very different than where I'm at today.
okay.
But the physical health and like I tell my girls, it's funny, like they're asking me like, "Mom, when are we gonna like dissect frogs in class?" And I'm like, I don't know. But I got to tell them about like my anatomy class in college and I
Mhm,
loved that. I love my undergrad. I think the physical health side, it's still so fascinating to me.
mhm,
Um, but my journey was different. I went and did a cardiac rehab internship and I don't know what your faith beliefs are. I just know
mhm,
whatever that looks like for you, there's often something higher that's guiding us. For me, it's
mhm,
God. That can look like whatever. But every door is shut at the end of that internship. Every job I tried to get, every next step I tried to take to go further towards becoming a PA, every door was slammed. And
mhm,
so it was very obvious to me that I was being redirected back to our college town. And
mhm,
so I came back to where had been doing my undergrad, got back plugged into the church that I had found just before I had moved. And luckily, thankfully, our pastor also had a very heavy like leadership development angle to his content and his teaching. And
Mhm.
so I ended up going through these purpose discovery questions.
Okay.
And they're some of the most helpful questions I've ever asked myself. And I've actually re-asked myself in a lot of different seasons of life, because I think the things that we are called to and gifted to do in the world,
Right.
they stay similar, but the expression of them can look different, right? Like maybe this
Right.
season it's a podcast, maybe next season it's a book, maybe it is a business, maybe it never becomes a business and you just help people with it. But there were some really, really helpful questions, and I'd be happy to, like, I can give those to you afterwards. There's like 10 questions, so we
Yeah.
could put them in the show notes for people.
Okay.
But it's like, what would you do if your family supported you unconditionally? What would you do if money was no object, or if you couldn't fail? Where do you find yourself getting the most frustrated because you're probably called to be some sort of a solution in that
Mm.
space? And so I went on that journey, and then similar around that same time frame, I was trying to figure out, who the heck am I? Why am I back in this small college town? Like, what is supposed to be next for me? That's when I started dating my husband and then became a mom very quickly. And so my now I was like running all the time, and I was
Mhm.
eating really healthy, and I was like trying to do all these things to, like, okay, I'm going to figure out who I am and like be the best version of me, right? I was reading all these books, going to different like conferences, I was listening to different things. Um and then mom life sort of took over, but the journey never stopped. It just slowed down. She's 11 and a half now, and the journey certainly has not stopped. But it's just, gets a little slower when there's kids in the mix.
Yeah, it does. It does
Yeah.
lower. I tell all my guests, they're like, How did you come up with the Balanced Boss Mom podcast?" Um, and I said, "Well, first and foremost, mom, the word mom is easy. You have to identify yourself as a mom. So that was easy
Mhm.
for me to pinpoint that out. But when I thought about the word balance, it came to me, and I was like, oh, you know what? You can really balance because you are a mom. And
Mhm.
like when you put podcasts, but there's not, people already have boss mom, podcasts or whatever. And so I just threw the word the, and actually it really started with me doing a vision board. I do vision
Mhm.
every year. I do the word of the year each year. And so this new season with next year, now that I have this podcast being fruition from my vision board, I never thought that.
Yeah.
I said I'm going to travel next year, and I put it
Yes.
there, but I said next year for my vision board, I'm going to take less. Like I really want to be able to have more time with my daughter, who's 7.
Oh, so good.
I just yesterday, me and her father, we were like, it's a blink of an eye. She was just a baby. She was a
I
little football.
know.
And I was like, now she just talks, and I like her life is flashing before me. And so she'll come home and say, Mom, I miss you and I want to spend time with you. And I'm like,
Oh.
I'm working. And so I'm at the crossroads where I'm missing her too.
Mhm.
And so it's like, what do you do? So now we spend our weekends, like she knows like right now I'm recording, but and she always want to put her face on here. I'm like, no, you can't do that. You can
Oh,
meet
I love it.
but no, not um but she has taught me a lot. She's taught me how to re-identify yourself where before you were a mom, you had all the ducks was in the row. Everything was your
Mhm.
that path that you were on. And
Mhm.
and slowly after that, your path gets detoured
Mhm.
because you had a baby. And so there's
Mhm.
a book to having a baby. Because when the first thing I thought of, I said, is there a book? Got
Yeah.
was that book that I first got when I was pregnant. I had the pregnancy, the first steps pregnancy book. And I was
Yeah, yeah,
looking
yeah.
and I was like, okay, so this is what I have to look forward to. But then when it happened,
Uh-huh.
this is not in this book. This is
Oh, it's
not
so different.
it's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And so it also taught me where being a mom and your circle changes. That was something
Mhm.
hard for me trying to figure out.
Mhm.
Now my circle has changed. I used to be able to go, hang out with my friends for a couple hours and didn't have a care in the world. So now
Sure.
I'm sorry. Unless my daughter can't tag along, I
Yep.
I can't go, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that was tough for me in that transition that we're talking about, the story before being a motherhood, because I was like, what am I going to do? And I think all
Mhm.
moms think that, where you had the friends that you had before, and then you have a baby, and then the baby's like the priority,
Mhm.
and trying to
Sure.
transition. So, being a mom, it's tough. It's there.
Yeah, I I love what you're saying because it's so true. There is a lot of loneliness in it, and it's a weird feeling because you're like, I love my kids or, I love my baby more than I ever imagined I could. And so it's weird to feel like I love you
Hmm.
and I still want these other things out of life, Like mom guilt is a very real thing because you're like, I miss you when I'm not with you. And then when I'm with you, I'm still a woman and an adult with, passions and likes and desires. So I think, well, that's why the name of the podcast is so perfect because you are balancing those not just titles but emotions on a daily basis. I learned from a mentor a long time ago. He was like, as long as you don't fail in the same area every day for too many days in a row, right? Like I can be the best mom for, I can be the best mom I can be, but if I neglect some of these other areas for too long, I'm going to end up not being a great mom or person or spouse or right? Because there are still other aspects of me that need fed and need poured into. So yeah, it's not easy to balance those emotions. But I think if we just are even just the awareness that that's happening in the background, I think is already winning more than most people are thinking about it. Because most people are just kind of going through life on autopilot. I'm just going to wake up and do whatever the day sort of directs me to do. So if you are even just recognizing that that's happening in the background or like the undercurrent of your life,
Hmm.
like you're already winning more than most people, I think.
And I think I like that you said that, because there is a loneliness within mom guilt. And I have talked about mom guilt in a couple of my episodes with a lot of different entrepreneurs and moms, because it's not talked about enough. Like, we talk about the women's mental health about a lot of things. And so I want to be able to give that balance in each episode, where not only you get a balance from what's going on with women's mental health, but what also goes on in a men's mindset and their perspective, because they feel alone too. They just don't know how to express or navigate,
Mhm.
versus we just throw it all, vomit on the table, and we're like, look, today was not a really good day. I really want
Mm.
ice cream for today. My daughter is going really insane for the moment, but
Mhm.
give me 30 seconds. Another thing I was learned was, you can't always have your cup full. If your
Mm.
cup is always empty, you're not going to be able to, like you said, help out other people, whether it's your daughter, your spouse, your friends. And for
Mhm.
me, my cup has been, I feel like sometimes my cup is half full. It's there, but not quite there. And
Yeah.
so it's like you have to, I guess, balance and teach your friends as well. Like, hey, today I'm tired. I can't be on the phone till 1 a.m. with you right now. Can we
Oh
rank?
no, that ship sailed years ago. I'm not awake anymore.
And
Yeah. You gotta catch me in the in between and I might text you back. Like you gotta
you know,
yeah.
that's why I like the title of your story is your superpower, because we do, as women, have a superpower in trying to being up way too late, and then at a switch of a hat, wake up really, really early and get the day and get the job done. So I have another question for you. What song that instantly takes you back to your pre-mom days?
Gosh. Oh man, what song? Okay, I'm bad at song names, but if you put on any like early 2000s
Mhm.
mix, like that's there's a whole so okay, first of all, I grew up in a small town, so you can put on like early 2000s country. That's one side of me. Then you can put on this whole other side of me that whatever they was playing at the club back in like, 2009, 2010. That brings up, a whole nother swirl of emotions. The kids they laugh when we put that on in the car and we start singing. It's funny.
Oh, you should see my
Yeah.
daughter. Oh, let me give you an example of what happened to me yesterday, actually. My daughter came home from school and she has this there was a paper that they were working on. It had a heart shape of her favorite things like. And so I was like, let me peek at this and see, why I'm waiting between calls. And I looked and I was like, she's like, okay, who do I love? She was like, I love my mom and dad.
Mhm.
She um what's her favorite thing to do? She was trying to spell arcade. So she was like, I want to go to the arcade.
It's fun.
She put, what is the other thing? Her hobby and interest was HEB, and she spelled it out perfectly. But the kicker that kicked me and her dad was the fact that she said, overall, with everything that she loves the most is Starbucks and Kava.
Oh, that's funny.
We just died laughing. We were like, oh my God. She was like, she really took the time and she spelled Starbucks correctly and we was, where
That's
did you learn
funny.
Kava from? And then yesterday while we were in the car, we said, hey, we saw your paper and we noticed you like Starbucks and Kava, huh? And she was like, yep, it's my favorite thing is Starbucks and Kava. I said, that's just my little peek of that made my day
So
worth
funny.
so much more yesterday with
Mhm.
everything calls and everything. Seeing that, I was like, she's like Starbucks, she's a mini me. And I was like, it's
That's so funny. She will get along with my girls. They got a problem. It's funny.
the
Yeah.
Starbucks, it always happens. So
I know it. Well, the problem is because it's in Target, and so if they don't get me to stop and then we make it to Target, it's like, okay, we gotta get through Target without going over there, you know what I mean?
I know. Why
Yeah.
do they
They'll have, like, $10 left in their purse and buy a $7 frap, and I'm like, "Girls, let's talk about money management a little bit because I don't think this is the best choice if you have 10 left," you know what I mean? So
I
that's a
have
different that's a different side of parenting.
and then the girl knows how to order off the menu. Like she looks at the menu and then she's like, this is I'm
Yeah.
like, you know that I didn't teach you this.
Mhm.
You know that your mother likes a caramel macchiato. Starbucks, if you're hearing
So
me,
funny.
this sponsorship, just saying. Anywho,
I
but
know.
I'm saying I looked and I was like, this is insane. I was like, she picked out this, it was like a dragon fruit drink. And I was like, you've never eaten a dragon fruit in your
Mhm.
life. And she was like, I'm picking it out today. I'm like, you're only
That's
7.
so
Just
funny.
7. I don't I have
Oh,
I have it Starbucks and Kava. And I was like, "You don't even
I
eat."
love
I
it.
said,
I love it.
"What do you eat from Kava?" And she was like, "I don't know. I just
Right.
like." Well,
That's
like,
cute. Hey, she
oh,
knows what she likes. She's on a path. I like it.
she knows what she
That's
likes, and I'm
cute.
scared because when she gets
Yeah.
in high school and she's asking to drive, and we're going to Starbucks,
Mm.
I'm just not ready. So
I know. No, we're not. I'm avoiding those conversations at all costs. I know.
I I avoid them at all costs. And then she be talking to this little boy. His name is Brock, and she, hi Brock, every morning. And I'm like, no, Mark the spot,
Yeah.
focus on an
Yeah.
education now. So I'm like, oh, and just
So
I
cute.
yes, hands full at 7. But I know with the storytelling as your superpower, what does it mean to you when you say your story is your superpower, especially being a mom?
Yes. I love this question. I think for a long, long time, I spent a lot of time feeling like I didn't have much to say. I didn't live through a near death experience. I didn't grow up in this like super radical way. I
Mhm.
felt like for the most part it was a pretty like standard story. And what I've learned is that I'm actually robbing people of the opportunity to learn and get help by not sharing my story just because I have some preconceived notions that it could have or should have been something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I hear you say your story is your superpower, first of all, there are people who, if you are a mom, there are people who can listen to your story because you are even 1 or 2 or 3 steps ahead of them that can learn from you. Like you said, you bought that book. You were like, none of this is in this book. This book is not helpful to me. This book tells me like what's going to happen to my body and that's it, right? Now we do live in an age where there's a lot of content and we can listen to podcasts like this and find blogs and stuff.
Right.
But some of the most powerful, helpful things that have come in my life are because people shared their journey and story with me who were a few steps ahead of me. And so recognizing that you've lived through some really specific things that only you have lived through, and you're still here today, and you're still going, and you're still growing and leading a family, that is a superpower that someone else can benefit from. You do not have to have it all together. You do not have to be 10 steps ahead. You don't even have to know what next year looks like. But there is someone who is the previous version of you that you are best positioned to help today. So I think that it was comparison. I think it was my insecurity. I think it was all these things that were keeping me from sharing my story. And it was a long period of time. It was a season of feeling like, okay, I know I can have something to say in this little area. Maybe I can speak up a little bit. And then that just sort of has grown into me being able to speak more today. But everybody has a story. The fact that you're still on your journey and have been able to get as far as you've gotten, yeah, you have a superpower and your story can help somebody else. Absolutely. Like right now, as is, no more development, no more improvement needed. Like you can make a difference in somebody's life today.
And you know what? I think it's very valid that you said that. And I appreciate you for saying that because, like you stated, in today's time, with social media evolving and everybody having a podcast and everybody has a blog, it's kind of hard where you're trying to stick out yourself and identify yourself
Yeah.
in reference to
Mhm.
how to capture an audience that's a mom, how to capture an audience that's not even a mom, but still listens to your podcast for maybe to seek that validation or seek that advice. You know, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a sticky situation, but it is where your transition, the word transition means a lot more now than it did then because
Yeah.
you're going through different seasons, you know?
Mhm.
And with my seasons, I've learned that I've had, like I said in previous podcasts, I've had friendships that have been 14, 15-year friendships. And I've
Mhm.
learned now that in each season that I'm transitioning into and the older that I get, that sometimes my circle is getting a little bit smaller and it could be turning into a
Mhm.
square at this point. And
Mhm.
I used to be like, man, I have to, if so and so call me, pick up the phone. And now I'm learning these things of you don't have to pick up the phone every time. You don't have to
Mhm. Mhm.
text away. The word transition means a lot to me in this
Yeah.
season because
Yeah.
I moved from Dallas to Houston, and I moved from
Oh, is
where.
that where you live? Is Houston?
Hmm. And so
Oh, okay.
with Houston, I'm learning how to. I'm like, I have no friends here. None. And it's like, whoa, like it's a whole 360. It's just you, your
Yeah.
kid, and your spouse. It's just you three. And so like for
Yeah.
me, I'm like, well, where do I find the friends that I need that I have that are in Dallas? Like when I go home, they're like, hey, where are you at? Like I haven't seen you. Like,
Mhm.
it picks up right where we left off. And so I get a little homesick every now and then where I'm like, do I want to move back to Dallas and just be,
Yeah.
be surrounded with my
Uh,
mom, be surrounded with my sister. But then again, I move with a purpose and a plan set for
mm,
myself where I know I needed to take myself outside of the element. And
mhm,
one of the things I would talk about is the manifestation that I have brought to my life because I would say, for example, when the pandemic happened, I said, if I ever get laid off, I'm going to school. Sure enough, for the very first time, I got laid off. And I was like, right, you said if you ever get laid off, what are you going to do? You're going to go to school. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in school, getting my bachelor's, got 50 credits left before I graduate. I was just talking about last night, returning back to school, get them 50 credits done and be done.
Mm-hmm.
No, yet.
Yeah.
But each time I have manifest something and something has come into fruition. Like, for example, I put this podcast in this vision board, and
Mm-hmm.
all I did was I picked up my phone, I used my notes in my phone, and I just started recording. And then I was like, how do you find ways to do this without spending money? And for me,
Mm-hmm.
so technology wise, I can pick up the tricks and trades of how to do this all by myself. And that's what I did. And that's how this is happening. So I totally hear you. And I validate everything that you're saying today because, every season has a different meaning to life. Um,
Yeah.
and so in that transition of that storytelling as your superpower, for moms who feel that they have lost their identity or have lost themselves in motherhood, how can you storytelling help reconnect who they are?
I love that question. So I'll give you a story. A
Go
story
for it.
about storytelling. Early last year, I went live on my Instagram page and I said, I'm gonna do 30 stories in 30 days. I decided I was gonna go live every day and tell 30 stories. Now, about day 14, 15, I was like, I'm running out of my cool stories, right? There's like those dinner party stories that, are kind of a hit. And then you're like, oh, I'm kind of running out of those. But what I loved about it so much is that I would kind of have a story in mind. And then I knew that by the end of the live stream, whether it was 5 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, I knew that I wanted to try to give some kind of takeaway, right? Like, okay, I just told you this story. Here's like the moral of the story. But I didn't
Mhm.
always have that when I started, like when I hit live and the live stream started. I just knew the story I wanted to tell. But through the process of forcing myself, because I had made this like public commitment, I'm going to do this every day for 30 days,
Mhm.
I was forced to find that each time. And sometimes I fumbled and sometimes it was uncomfortable or awkward, but more times than not, I would get through this story and I was like, oh man, I actually learned a lot of lessons in there. And I was
Mhm.
able to kind of like extract those out of the stories that I was telling.
Mhm.
And the benefit that I did it to connect with people and to grow my speaking skills. The benefit I didn't realize is that it helped me to see, man, I do have a lot to say and I do have some really cool things to share. And so the piece that I was just telling you about, like, oh, I had all these like reasons why I didn't have much to say, that 30 days opened my eyes to like, man, there's a lot in there. Like there really is. Like most of us, if we start working that muscle of storytelling and just like putting ourselves in the reps of doing that, we really
Mhm.
do have awesome things to say. And I learned a lot about myself. I remembered some cool things because I had to go digging, right? Like I ran out of stories at some point and I was like, oh, I gotta go like digging in the memory banks. And it was just like a cool experience to be like, man, some really cool stuff has happened to me that I really didn't give it a lot of thought at the time, but
Mhm.
now I'm forced to go remember and retell it. And it was so that was a really fun exercise for me. And I think that if you are looking for who am I? What do I enjoy? What do I like? What's the what's next for me? Just by getting to know yourself again, you can do
Right.
it through storytelling, you can do it through there's so many things. I'm learning honestly, like if you go on Eventbrite and you just look up free or low cost activities in your area, especially in Houston, right? Like I'm in Nashville, so there's tons of stuff that you can just go try. Like it doesn't take but a couple hours and a little courage to show up to an event for very minimal financial cost. It takes an emotional cost. And you probably got to find a babysitter or whatever, but it helps you see like, oh, I love this, or that's not for me. Right. Like, and that's valuable information as you're trying to figure out who you are as an individual.
Like that. I like that a lot because I feel like sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone just to see what you like or what you may not like, and Houston is so they always have something. And for me, I think is where I get to and say, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then I get to the date and then I'm like, "Okay, I'm too tired. I'm tired because because of work. And so one of the things I love, oh, I absolutely love about your TED Talks, because it's inspired me, especially when I'm at work. I'm like, I need something to just get me through the day because this is not it. Right now, we're on so much idle time. I'm not used to the idle time that we have at work. So I'm transitioning from having calls back to back, back to back, back to back, to now having this idle time. And I'm like, what do I do? So now I'm looking more at TED Talks, and for me, you have inspired so many people through your TED Talk. So, have you seen moments where you've shared your story and it's touched or inspired maybe another woman, another entrepreneur, or a mom in a powerful way?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I do. Yeah, I get to have these conversations. And people are like, "Hey, I listened to that. That was helpful to me. I tried that." The the one that I feel most honored by, my husband will come home and he'll be like, "Hey, you remember that thing you said? That actually, like, I made some different choices and decisions today because you said that." And I was like, "Well, look at that. That makes me feel really good." Um, but but again, I don't think it's unique to me. I've done a lot of work to try to say things in a certain way so that it lands with more people. I think that's just the nature of being a speaker. I'm trying to work on my presentation and the craft of it, but that's not unique to me. Like there's a lot of stuff that any of us can go and say, and you have a platform like in your pocket, right? Like anybody
Right.
can go live right now. Like you have the ability to help people at any moment with your story.
Yeah, that's true because I think social media has changed so much. I tell my daughter all the time, I said, you don't even know what internet was, okay, before internet was internet. And so sh- she's learning that. She's like, Mom, you had no internet at one point? And I'm like, yeah, I didn't have social media. I mean, I said I grew up with social media. And so what I see in today, that social media has changed, like it's evolving so much where anybody, like you said, and they're creating content, and that content may flourish, it may drop, it may inspire somebody, it may even show, for example, I hope this podcast do inspire not only moms but individuals that are not moms right now, that are either juggling going to work and going to school, or juggling between their bedtime routines with their children or big dreams. um I think a lot of moms don't talk about their safe space. And I want to talk about, what is your safe space for you?
My it's a few things. So my journaling time, I've worked really hard to set my life up in a way that I have like an ideal week. I certainly don't hit all the marks every week, but I do have a time that I know my energy is best, and so I pay attention to like where's my energy cycles, like where am I the most up and where are my low points. And so I try to do the most important things at those highest energy times. And one of those is like just quiet time with my journal
Mm-hmm.
and some space in the mornings to just reflect and
Mm-hmm.
think, like whatever's coming up for me. And sometimes I actually take myself through a whole process and I feel like I process some things. And sometimes it's just like a dump of like, here's what I feel. And so whether it's in my phone or handwritten, my journaling time is really a safe space for me because I know it's just me and it's not going to be judged or read. And that's really important that I have that outlet. I've gone through a couple different phases of different counselors over the years, in person and online. Um, I like online as a mom because then I don't have to worry about, like driving over there. So I really do enjoy the fact that I could just like log in on my phone and have a session with a counselor. That's been really important for me in different seasons and transitions. The gym is a big one. I really got into yoga the last like year or two, and it doesn't have to be yoga, but whatever you enjoy that like in includes your physical activity, because it really like first of all, exercise chemically gives you those really good chemicals in your body, right? So you already like have the biological benefit of feeling really good about yourself. But then you're just like, okay, I'm committing to a habit. I'm doing what I say I'm going to do. I'm building my self-esteem and I am feeling physically better along the way. So the gym, like I won't go to a gym that doesn't have a daycare because that way I can take the kids, they can go to the daycare area, I can go get time for me that feels like I need to do what I need to do. And then we all go home and get back into the chaos of life. But those are just a few areas that I feel like these are like me spaces, and that's really important for me.
And I like all of those. And I like that is a safe space, especially not journaling, journaling. See, I'm telling you, I keep fumbling my words, but I like journal. Can we not fumble? Journaling. I don't know what's going on with me today. Um, I need to get back into that. That's something I've stopped a long while ago, that I need to get back into that because it is a healing. It does heal you when you just with your thoughts and you're in a peaceful state and nobody is around you, and that can just help you throughout the
Yeah.
end of your day. So I have a fun little
Yeah.
game really quickly. It's a lightning round before we wrap up on this beautiful conversation that we've had.
Yeah.
Fire, no overthinking. The first answer that comes to mind. So the first one I have is your coffee order. Do you like it hot or icy?
Oh, definitely hot. Unless it's like the middle of July and it's 100 degrees, I'll get iced coffee, but most of the time, hot coffee for sure.
Okay. Now I know you mentioned about Target, so I have one for Target. So do you prefer a
Uh-huh.
Target solo trip or a girls' night out?
Ooh, I haven't had a girls' night out and I couldn't tell you when. So definitely a solo trip to Target sounds lovely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you prefer Netflix and binging on Netflix or a curl up with a book?
Ooh, I love a good movie. Not a binge, but I love a good movie where they like really wrap you up in the movie. I'm a movie watcher for sure.
I have one tip I'm going to tell you that I use. I go on Instagram and I follow this girl. Her name is The Weekend Watcher on Instagram. You got to follow her
Okay.
because she gives you so many good movies, so many good TV series. I just finished watching The Hunting Wives on Netflix. It's leaves you speechless is all I have to say. It's a good show. So I highly
Uh-oh.
try watching that. They got a book on it, which I'm going to read the book
Okay,
to
cool.
it from the TV show. The TV show, it's kind of like no kids can be in there. None. No kids can be in there. I'm just saying. But I want to read the book. I kind of like those movies to book kind of things that I like to find. What's one thing that instantly boosts your mood? Can you hear me?
Piece of chocolate. Yep.
Ooh. I will have to
Yep.
say red
Good piece of
velvet cake.
chocolate.
I like a red velvet cake. I see. I keep telling my secrets. Um, if you had a free babysitter for 24 hours, how would you spend it?
Oh my gosh, the fastest beach I could get to, wherever I could lay out in the sun with a pool, a beach. Don't bother me. I'm gonna be on the beach chair.
Now I haven't well no, I did go to Galveston and take my daughter to a beach, so that was fun. I might take her back this time because they have like a little like a carnival situation. So I might take her back next year sometime. And then my last question for you is one word to describe motherhood in this season.
Rewarding.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. So one more thing, Brittany. If you can leave this conversation wherever you want to lead it to in reference to something inspiring for whether, like I said, I love your TED Talks. So I would love if you can leave something inspiring on my podcast, my guest. In reference to not only just for moms, not only just for somebody that might be losing themselves, but just in totality, if you can leave something inspiring for anybody, I would really appreciate that with the quote.
Yeah. Oh, I'd be honored to. I would say you are so worth it to go and do whatever it's going to take for you to do this work and see the things come to pass that you can see in your visions and your dreams in your mind. There are going to be really long days and hard conversations and decisions that you have to make that don't always feel great, but you are so worth it because of how much is in you that other people need to experience. Every single one of us has something that other people need in this world. Like, you have lived through things, you have unique gifts, stories, talents, a way of being, and it's not going to come out by itself, but you are so worth it to lean in and do the hard work because you you've gotten this far. So don't settle. Don't settle. Like, think bigger, dream bigger, aim higher because it's so worth it. And you have so much. You're so worth it.
Are you trying to make me cry?
I hope not. I don't want to make you cry.
Love that. I'm gonna cry. Well, Brittany,
Yeah.
this conversation has been so amazing and so much fun. I can't wait. I cannot wait for this to be released and for everyone to hear. I want to thank you for reminding us that our stories matter, that we matter, our mental health matters. The ones that we've lived through our stories, the ones where we have survived, the ones where we thrive in our stories, can truly be your own superpower. Just like it's stated in this title, your story is your superpower. For anyone who is listening and wants to connect with you, where can we find you online?
Yeah. I am on Instagram the most, so it's just at Brittany_Stinson. It's look me up, and then obviously if you go watch my TEDx talk, I would be grateful for that too.
Yes, y'all go see my girl in her TED Talk, or or else, because that sounds kind of weird. Anyways, go see her TED. I watch her TED Talks and she is awesome, truly. Now, for listening, I want to tell you, you ladies, gentlemen, even the little kids that might listen to this one day, that your story doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. Someone out there is listening to it. I hope you guys listen to this episode and have some encouraging things that come your way. Until next time, take care of yourself. Keep showing up for not only for yourself, but for your spouse and your kids. It is complex being a mom, just going to say, or being that friend. Until next time, bye, guys.
See ya.